Hello everyone and welcome back to the Greenhouse Rambles series. And I know many of you are going, Seri, what the heck is the Greenhouse Rambles series? And it is our Q&A series, our very relaxing, laid-back question and answer series where you guys ask me questions and I provide hopefully some entertaining answers while we relax in one of my favorite games of all time, Plant Tycoon. It is so laid back, it's so beautiful, it's all about crossbreeding plants and presenting them in our beautiful greenhouse, and hopefully people will buy them from our little plant shop. So while we will be playing this very laid back game, in fact I think I have this cactus. One of my plants is sick. Oh no, and there's a bug. Alright, I got him. So while we will be playing this very laid back little game, I will be answering questions from you guys, if I could catch the little bugs, and trying my best not to get distracted by the plants as I usually do. So I'm going to set this one to be ultra cheap to sell. We've got some seeds to collect. And yeah, so thank you guys so much. So many of you actually had questions to ask me from our Q&A. Like we had a little Q&A video from our community vlogs that went up quite a while ago, and I just haven't had the time or the ability to catch up on all of those questions. So I'm really excited to be able to sit down and do some of that now. And if you guys have more questions for me, then please leave them in the comments below and I will be more than happy to get to them as quickly as I can. All right, I think I'm going to leave those guys alone to try to pollinate. Look at this daisy fern! I want its babies! So we're going to pollinate the daisy fern with its own pollen, and that will make it have purebred babies. So we're going to keep an eye on this daisy fern. That being said, let's make sure, yep, time is set to fast. And we're going to pop on in to our little nursery where hopefully people will come on by, buy the plants. As time goes on, we'll get enough money to upgrade the nursery. This is sincerely one of my favorite games of all time. I hope you guys will enjoy watching it in the background as we dive into your questions. And I actually have a question that has been sitting on the tip of my tongue for probably a month now that Pavo asked me. Pavo from our zoo crafting server, who is our awesome friend, wonderful, creative zoo builder, mod builder. He's the one who's always making the awesome signs and helped create the awesome giraffe. He made the model for the giraffe and it's just so beautiful. So yeah, Pavo of our zoo crafting series asked me a long time ago, kind of casually, if you were a bird, what bird would you be? And he ended up getting practically a 40-minute answer as I freaked out with excitement because I knew exactly, after a long time of thinking about it, I took it very seriously when he asked me what kind of bird I would be. I answered Carolina Wren, and the Carolina Wren is a very small, stout, little brown bird that most of you guys have probably never heard of. It's one of the wren species. They're absolutely adorable, and I had never seen them in my entire life until after I moved here to North Carolina. And then I never really noticed them until we moved down here into the Piedmont area is what it's called here in North Carolina where we live. We used to live in the mountains, and now we live kind of in the lowland area that leads towards the ocean. And they're so cute. They're just these tiny little squat, short, fat birds. They're a little bit hard to see because they're all brown. They have a long tail, and they've got really loud voices for such a small bird. And they're so curious. And that's kind of what just draws me to them. After all the birds that I know about in the whole world, and I've gotten really into birds over the last couple of years. I blame my Gouldian finches. I just feel like those are the birds that I would be as a Carolina Wren, where you're tiny and you're kind of like a squat little chubby adorable ball of brown coloring with a long tail, or in my case long hair, and you've got an unexpectedly very loud call. You have a lot to say, and Carolina Wrens actually talk quite a lot with their calls, and so you can hear them and you'll be walking along the forest path, or you'll be sitting out on the deck and you can hear the Carolina Wrens talking, and you can't see them because they're just this tiny little ball of brown that's clinging to the side of a tree, and they're adorable. They're actually ground foragers, so they'll pop around all over the ground looking for seeds, and they're so curious. I think that's what made me fall in love with them first thing when we moved here, is that we would get all of the mourning doves, and we'd get all of the cardinals and the robins and all of those more the larger, more typical birds that I'm used to seeing in the backyards showing up on our deck to eat the bird seed that we would put out. And then I noticed there was this tiny little brown bird that not only would show up for the bird seed, but would dig around in everything. It would hop over, it would peer under all of my flower pots, it would like jump inside of bags, it would dig around in places that I wouldn't think a bird would want to kind of like isolate itself in. And I loved just how curious they were. That really, really is what drew them to like me to them in the first place. And then when they started singing and I caught them singing and realized what a pretty, like, an amazingly loud song for such a small bird they have, it clicked. And then also the Carolina Wren, a couple times we had them fly inside the house because they're that curious. If you leave the door to the deck open, then the birds will actually fly inside the house and be very, very excited about that. So yeah. That's my long answer, and I think it's really fun. So what kind of bird would you guys be? And there's so many bird species out there, and it was really, really fun to just feel like I suddenly could identify which one I would be for all of those different traits. So there's the long answer that Pablo got. He had a much longer version of that answer as I was like, wait, and they're also like this, and they're also like this. And I would get super excited and talk more and more about the Carolina Wrens. I really love them, and I'm actually, this is really silly, but I'm a little bit sad because we're moving to Michigan and they're not going to be up there. And I know that sounds really ridiculous, but that's actually one of the things that makes me sad about moving, is that the Carolina Wren, there'll be wrens, but the Carolina Wren won't be there. And that makes me really sad. But that's okay. So I try to enjoy them a lot while we're here. So you guys might see me try to vlog like Carolina Wrens jumping around in the forest, or maybe eating from our bird feeder quite a bit on the vlog channel. And there is a vlog channel in case you guys like these kind of rambling things. I do a lot of that over there. But you might see me try to like corner the Carolina Wren a little bit more often to be able to enjoy it while it's still living where I'm living. So yeah, that's the very, very long answer to that. We'll move more quickly through the other questions. I really felt like I had to do that one justice because I found my spirit bird. All right, and then Jose asked, what is your favorite Warrior Cats character? And off the top of my head, without having to like overthink it, I would say that Brightheart, Longtail, and Brackenfur are my favorite Warrior Cats characters. I definitely think I enjoy them the most. I was really surprised. Wait, was it Bracken or Bramble? It may have been Bramble. I get the two names mixed up, but I am not referring to the spoilers, future deputy. I am referring to the father of a few kits that, well, I guess that doesn't really help to isolate things. Basically, I think that Longtail was my unexpected most favorite cat because of how his story turned out. And then Brightheart, I just really, really, really enjoy Brightheart. And I haven't finished the book series, so I'm going to have to see if I continue enjoying Brightheart. I'm a little nervous for her because I'm in the final books of the series before it goes to the origin of the clans. So there's my answers on the cats I really love. Oh, and all of my stuff sold. So let's go ahead and get some of these moving and grooving. We've got to water all of our little ferns. Have to get the soil all watered up so that we can put some seeds in it. But yeah, that's my answer for, like, off the top of the head, my favorite cats. And then he also asked, how do you deal with bullying? Now, that's a much more complicated answer because I definitely was majorly bullied. I was bullied so bad in 6th grade that I was actually pulled out of school for 2 years. And my mom had to homeschool me because it just got so bad that the administration couldn't handle it. It was chaotic. It was really, 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 really terrible. I really wanted that dragonfly. And I feel like I want to do more justice to that answer. So on the answer of like when I was younger and had to deal with bullying, especially when I was in school and when it got that extreme, I kind of want a little bit of time to think more about that. And if you guys want, let me know if you would like me to like maybe make a video about that on the main channel, or if you think it would be a good thing for the vlog channel, because I wouldn't mind talking about those things, because I feel like if somebody had spoken up when I was a kid and talked a little bit more about what it was like to be bullied, then I wouldn't have felt so alone. And sometimes you see these really beautiful models, like in those little anti-bullying campaign things, you see this gorgeous model and they'll be like, I was bullied in school, but it turned out okay, so hang in there. And I'm not bashing that at all. It's just I can't relate to it. Like at me, I was like a really, really fat, lonely, isolated sixth grader who hated the world myself. And so if there was some beautiful, like pristine model in some like really beautifully overlaid music commercial telling me that life was going to be okay and that it'd be fine and it'd get better and you just need to hang in there and tough it out and find friends in your own interest groups, I would have just been like, yeah, forget you. So I would have not put up with that when I was a middle schooler. So I want to take some time to kind of gather my thoughts on that and answer it in a more concise kind of like, I don't know, PSA sort of video. So let me know if you guys are interested in that, because at least you know that much. Yeah, Seri, I was so bullied, like physically and emotionally and mentally. There were a couple teachers who were also involved as bullies. It was terrible. It was so bad that my mom kind of like dragged him to court and things got really interesting, and that school changed in a lot of ways. That's a beautiful bug. I want it. No, I got it. We got a little bug. So things had been that bad for me in the past, and they didn't get better right away. And it took a long, long time. And I just want you guys to know, like, that's where Seri used to be. Seri used to be that lonely and isolated and depressed and sad, especially as a very, very young teenager. And look at where I'm at today. So I don't know if the specifics of my story will help you guys as much as just telling you guys, yeah, I was there. It sucked horribly. I didn't think it was going to get better. I hated life when I was a teenager. I hated everybody when I was a teenager. And now I don't. Now I am overjoyed to live every single day full of adventure and happiness and look down at my hands and see all of the scars of struggling to get here and realizing that I'm okay with it, that I wouldn't change anything about where I've been and what I've done. And so maybe that'll help you more than the specifics of like the how, the why, like all of those details. Maybe just hearing those things will help you more. But if you guys do want to hear the details, like not the graphic gore, like you'll never believe when they pushed me into my locker sort of details, but just more specific things, then let me know. And I'm willing to share that, because I wish somebody who I could relate to had shared it with me when I was going through that. And so I think I have almost an obligation with the platform that I've got with all of you amazing people to share those things. So no, I don't want to prune this whole plant. Geez. So yeah, one day it can get to the point where you'll get so laid back about it that you can cheerfully prune some pixel plants and talk about the worst years of your life when you're being bullied. So yeah, I'm going to think about that, but at least you guys know that much. And then Jose also asked, do you want to have a baby boy or girl if you ever have children? And I do not plan on having kids for a lot of reasons, but primarily because I was a foster mom and I was a nanny, so I like kids. I really like kids, but it's not for me, probably for health reasons, for plan reasons, for personality reasons. If being a live-in nanny for 5 years, so I mean, it feels really surreal when you're a live-in nanny for that long, because especially when they were my cousins and I worked for my aunt as her nanny, you love them because they're already family. And I was with them from like when the youngest was 18 months to almost 7 years. Like I was a part of their life from that whole time. That's a long time. You can't help but feel like you contributed to helping to raise them, even if you definitely, like, you're not the parent, but you're on the periphery and you're doing a lot of the hard work day in, day out. So it's kind of surreal because it sounds terrible, but I feel like it's kind of like, well, I've been there and I've done that. And I also like had my entire heart, let's be honest, ripped out of my chest and thrown on the ground when we were doing foster care. And I fell in love with one little boy and we were going to adopt him. And he was going to be part of our family. And then things went really awry and terrible. And he was adopted by another group who they decided to, since he had some balance issues with his inner ear, they didn't want him. And they put him back in the system months after they adopted him. And now I have no idea what that little boy is. And my name was one of the first things he ever said. That this is gonna sound bad, but it's like it ripped my heart out to the point where somehow it opened my heart. Like it's almost like it just cut my heart right open. and my emotions are just always constantly exposed to the kids of the world, like to people, pretty much everyone now. Really, that experience more than anything, more than being bullied, more than healing, more than falling in love, that particular experience of having fallen in love with him, being in charge of him, helping to raise him, thinking that he was going to be a member of our family, foreseeing myself in his life more or less every day to the end of it, and then having him taken away, and then knowing that there wasn't even a happy ending to that story, that he got tossed back in a system and then lost within it and probably won't ever get out of it till he ages out. It makes me so distracted. It's like I feel like I just want to almost watch after like as many kids as possible, do as much good in the world as possible, because maybe hopefully whatever good I do in the world will trickle back to him somehow, somewhere, or trickle to people who are in his situation. So yeah, it's really weird, because it's like losing that little guy as a potential member of the family. Whenever people ask me if I want kids or not, somehow his story and then having helped raise my cousins comes up again and again in my head, and it's just like my heart is so open to his memory and so content with having helped with my cousins. I don't really have an urge to have kids. And yeah, there's a lot more complicated reasons to that, but I don't mind saying just like, no, I don't think it's in the cards for me. Don't think it's in the cards, and that's okay. But if I did have children, I have a really hard time thinking how I would like interact with a baby boy, if I'm completely honest. But I think that's 100% because I helped raise 2 girls. So I definitely don't have a preference either way, but it's just harder to picture like, how would you like raise a baby boy from like, we had him for about 1.5 years. So how would you raise him past 3? He left when he was 3, versus like my cousins who I helped with, and I have a niece, so I'm surrounded by girls. So it's just kind of like, well, it's the same thing, and you know it's the exact same thing on how you should raise them. You shouldn't treat them any differently, but it's just a little bit more like head tilting. Like, I don't know, would that be different? I don't think it would be different. So I don't really have a preference. It's just like, it's harder to mentally picture if I did have kids taking care of a boy versus a girl, because I've helped with 3 girls. So that's the only reason that's a little bit harder. All right, but then onward and onward. And yeah, sometimes we talk about really serious things, sometimes about really silly things here. Yay, my plants are selling. Everybody buy this plant. Jose also asked, what animal do you hope Pavo adds into the Zoocraft discoveries? And there's actually a big list that we have that like constantly gets shifted around, moved around depending on what's going on the server, what projects they're working on. Pavo, Alex, Ben, they all kind of fiddle on their own things, and then here I am starting to go, I want to make slime rancher mods. All of a sudden I'm talking about making a slime rancher mod in Minecraft. So as far as what animals, he's already added in my dream animals. He's added in the giraffe, and he's added in the geckos, and I haven't even introduced the geckos yet in Zoocrafting. And so, I mean, he's added in the Gouldian finches. Pavo's basically put in anything I can dream of. I know that he's worked on a heron, like, and I'm in love with blue herons too, because I see them around the lake all the time. Basically, like, I don't know. I love all the animals. I think it would be nice to have a frog and a snake that I could actually change textures on, so I could represent a broader expanse of the ecosystems. But it's really fun because now it's gone from this like whimsical, oh, if only that could happen, but it probably never will, sort of feeling over the Minecraft modded animals, to this feeling of like, hey, we can make this happen. And not only do I have amazing friends with really great skills and talents who all have their own way of like being the mod artists that they are, that they might be able to make these, but I could maybe learn how to do it myself. And that makes you feel so amazing, because you feel like when you go from just being like, hey, do this, hey, do this, hey, do this, like requesting it from somebody, to actually giving yourself the ability and the tools to do it, you get really excited. So that's kind of how I'm at right now, like where I'm at right now, where I'm not really able to think like, what is my next dream animal? Because there's this new feeling of like, man, I might have more dream animals in the future, and I might be able to do something about that, versus like having to ask somebody for it. So it's really a powerful, awesome feeling. And I hope you guys can like put that on and like go find the tools to create what you want, if there's something you really want out there. Why is nobody buying this tree? All right, so let's come back in here. Look how pretty! Daisy fern, you're so pretty. Oh my gosh, daisy ferns, yay! Purebred daisy fern seeds. I think we can actually tuck these away, like in our little seed chamber. Yeah, look at that. I'm gonna keep these over here so I know that he's nice and safe. Then we're gonna sell him. Oops, and there's another arachnid. Oh my gosh. And as usual, I just want to be like, I'm sorry, I've rambled so much, you guys. We'll probably only answer a couple more questions this time. And I'll probably be doing a lot more greenhouse rambles, just for those of you guys who'd be interested. Because who knows? Who knows? It's kind of fun for me because I never know what grab bag questions you guys are going to leave in the comments. So you never know, like, what you might suddenly be answering. All right, so, ooh, look at this guy. I want purebred of this guy. I want this. Nah, he ran away. All right, and then let's get this lemon bush purebred as well. And then I'm going to plant these cactuses. This guy, this blue star maple, doesn't want to go anywhere. I think I'm going to have maybe this daisy fern. There we go. And then let's see. I actually want to get more of these ferns. These ferns are so pretty. I'm going to get more of these ferns planted so that they can start growing. All right, and then let's see. Let's do a couple more questions really quickly. Let's see. So we've got from Victor. He asks, I know it would be hard to choose, but if you were to participate in, let's grab this. If you were to participate in a race around the world, for example, the Amazing Race, and you had to pick 2 of the current ZooCrafting members to join you as teammates, which 2 would you pick? What about the UHC ladies? Oh, that's a really fun question. See what I mean about the grab bag questions? You just don't know what you're going to get. Well, if I had to pick, the Amazing Race, or like maybe this is like, I wonder if it was going to be race or if it was going to be like stranded on a deserted island. And holy days, that thing's producing seeds pretty fast. If it was going to be, I've never seen the Amazing Race or anything like that, but I've heard about it a little bit. And I think I'm going to think from terms of like if I was stranded on a desert island, because that's easier for me to imagine. So if I was going to be stranded on a desert island with 2 of the ZooCrafting members right now, I would probably pick Alex first up because he's traveled to Costa Rica, and he's the only one I know off the top of my head has experience with like traveling to other places in the world and like traveling to really remote places with wildlife there. So I'd pick him, and then I think I would pick Ben. And the reason I would pick Alex and Ben, Alex for his skills at traveling the world, Ben for his slight ruthlessness. I know he would help assist me in making sure that the fish we needed to eat were killed. And he has like this really sarcastic humor that I think would help like keep everything weirdly lighthearted, like a dark humor that I feel like actually would make things easier if you're stranded on a deserted island. Because if you try to pretend everything's fine and just have like this cheerful, bubbly personality, when you guys might be doomed, you're stranded in the middle of nowhere, you could die if you don't fight for your survival. I feel like dark humor may oddly help me more than just like cheerful, constant optimism. But then Ben and I also kind of balance each other out with the dark humor and the cheerful optimism. So it's almost like you might actually get a functional group who could survive. So those are the top choices for if it was just down to like survival. But I mean, of course I would want to bring everybody. If we could just take the whole group, I feel like that would be a great balance too. And then if it was the UHC ladies, I would probably have to say MK, because I know MK. I've worked with her a little bit before, and she's just got a good spirit, and she's just very laid back. And then I would have to say probably Stacy, because we would have a lot to talk about with animals. We'd have a lot to talk about. I think we'd be able to swap stories, and that would keep me from going mad, and I'd feel a little bit happier. Like it's not gonna be terrible. We're not gonna die, and it's not gonna be sad if I can talk to somebody and who I relate to pretty well. So that's probably who I would pick. And then let's see, Daisy Fern, pollinated little Daisy Fern. What you doing, little dead leaf? Get off my plant. There we go. All right, good. And this is going good. Wow, we're really doing good. All right, and then, all right, I'm going to answer like 2 more questions. There's so many. I'm sorry if I haven't gotten to yours, and you can totally add more in the comments. I forgot how much I enjoy the Greenhouse Rambles, so we'll probably be doing more in the future. All right, from Sim Stories 4322. Have you ever ridden a horse? If so, what was your experience like? And yes, I have ridden a horse. once. Like if you are talking about like actually riding a horse. I have sat on a horse 3 times. Twice was at my cousin's place in Oklahoma, and she's majorly into horses. And she had this huge horse. Like I don't know how many hands tall he was, but he was gigantic. And I'm 5.5, which is a really funny height to be, by the way. So 5 feet, 5.5 inches, like on the dot. And this guy, he was probably like a good couple feet taller than me, like just at his spine or something ridiculous. Like it felt like staring up at a mountain. And so whenever we like go through Oklahoma and just say hi to her, she was always really excited for us to sit on top of her horse because he was so high up. And then you get up there and you just feel like you're going to fall straight back off. So that I remember being little and being like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And then the only time I've actually ever ridden a horse was on a trail. It was actually on one of those like touristy trap. Here, sit on our older, more laid back horses and we'll walk you around a mountain for an hour sort of things. And it was amazing. I was 10 years old. I went with my mom and my aunt, who many years later I would be her nanny. And we didn't even know it back then, of course not. But, yeah, I went with them when I was 10 years old. So that was probably 18 years ago because it was shortly after my 10th birthday. And no, maybe 11th birthday. So maybe 17 years ago. Man, when you get old, it's weird how, like, I always remember thinking old people were weird the way that they would stop and be like, no, how many years ago was that? And now I kind of get it a little bit because you're like, wait, I want to make sure I'm not forgetting, and you're like a giant chunk of time of my life. But anyway, we went on one of those little touristy trap rides where I got to sit on top of Blossom, who was a very old painted horse, and we walked around the mountains in Utah, and they were currently in bloom because it was spring, and there were daffodils as far as the eye could see on this mountain. It was truly stunning. You could just see straight down, and it was just waves of green and yellow, and it was so beautiful. And we walked through the forest, we walked across the daffodil field, we walked around a little stream, and we came back to the start again. And I can't really remember anything other than just sitting on my horse, like being totally amazed that I was sitting on a horse, thinking it was so beautiful because it was a paint horse, and looking around at all of the daffodils. And it was just, I didn't know there could be that many daffodils. And then the other thing I remember is that my horse was a little bit independent, and because I was very young, I kept having to like be told to pull her away from eating all the daffodils because she thought it was absolutely awesome that I was so distracted and so like unsure of how to like command a horse that she could eat all the daffodils she wanted as we walked on the path. So it was really hard to like keep her from stopping and breaking away from everybody else and eating the daffodils. And that was my so far only experience riding a horse. So I hope to have more in the future. We'll have to see. Maybe when we move to Michigan, it'll turn out there's like some great places to go horseback riding, and that might become a thing I do more often. Man, I bet you guys would love those vlogs. Oh my gosh. All right, and then I'm going to wrap up with Carly's questions. So Carly says, what warrior book are you on? And when you asked that question a week ago, like weeks ago, who knows how many weeks ago it was, I was on like some of the earlier books, and I am now on the very last book. What is this one called again? Let me grab it really quickly. I am now on the very last book in The Omen of the Stars. Book number 6, The Last Hope. I have the enhanced edition. So I'm going to be finishing that up soon. I've kind of been putting it off because I know it's the last one and I'm a little sad about that. But then I think I'll roll back and start reading Origins, and I'll probably read through the Seeker series as well. Or Survivors, the Survivor series. So I can get a feel for what it might be like to make a Survivor series in Sims 3, because I think that would be really fun. And then how many Gouldian finches do I have? Currently I have 2, 4, let's see. 8. Currently I have 8. I had to count again just to make sure. And a few of them are unrelated, a few of them are related, and hopefully we're going to be having some babies soon. If you guys don't know, I have breeding cages set up, and I currently have it so that my finches are on tons and tons of vlogs. So over on the vlog channel, you can see them as I set up the breeding cages. You can see them bathing because they're so cute when they do that. You can see them as they start gathering up nesting material. Pretty soon, Persimmon has already laid an egg. I don't know if she's laying more eggs. I'm actually staring at her right now, and she's actually picking through breeding material. And the females don't usually do that. So she must be very excited to be helping out with the nest. So breeding material, I meant bedding, like nesting material. But yeah, she's currently doing that. So you can see tons and tons and tons about my finches on the vlog channel. They feature on there at least a couple times a week for sure. So check that out if you're interested in my finches because they're adorable. And I'll probably have lots of videos with my crested geckos up there in the future too. And then finally, what's your favorite, least favorite words character? Also from Sims or Charlie or Carly, excuse me, Carly. And I answered like my favorites earlier. So what's my least favorite character? Crowfeather. I haven't read his independent book, but my least favorite's Crowfeather because I just feel like that was written really weird. Like, I don't mind him as a character as much as I'm like, I don't know if I like how they portray this going down. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me from a writing point of view. And then my other least favorite character, I kind of like, I am not one of those people who's like, oh, I hate the villains, because without the villains, then like a lot of the story wouldn't even exist. So I kind of like all of them. Or they're just neutral, or I'm just kind of like, I don't know if that was written the best. And I think that the one cat, like maybe I don't like, is probably one of the old stone tellers. And I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but like that's one where I could understand the writing and he made sense in terms of writing, and I didn't like him because of his indecisiveness and his weakness. So there's that. All right, so that was way too much chattering. I'm going to stop babbling now. You guys can leave more questions in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them in the future. I hope you've enjoyed the laid back little day. I'm going to try very hard not to kill all of our plants. We once had like all of the gold instruments and everything in our greenhouse series, and then I killed it all because I forgot to come back in and check on everybody. So I'm going to try very hard not to kill everybody and answer some more of you guys' questions for the future. Oh, and there's a dragonfly. And then as time goes on, I missed the dragonfly. As time goes on, we'll actually be able to like upgrade our materials too and like buy things to decorate the nursery. So it'll be fun to see if we can get up to that point too. But all right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.